and welcome to another one of my bass build videos. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm always messing around with guitars, basses, modifying, restoring, building. I'm just starting building from scratch as well. So this was a Demavery bass I picked up on eBay last June for about £65. Really nice bass, played really nicely, sounded really nice. Anyway, I started having problems with it, wasn't getting on with it because although it's a bass, jazz bass, it actually had a precision style neck on it, really fat neck. I like thinner neck, having smaller hands. Anyway, so I decided I was going to sell it. Obviously it didn't come like this. I put all the stickers on and drew all over it and did my normal sort of stupid stuff like I do to guitars and whatnot. Decided that I was going to get rid of it. Put it on eBay for 50 quid, and the long and short of it was no one offered me more than 25. So I thought, hold on a second, why don't I just make it into a better bass guitar that I can actually play and use. So I thought for a while, and I decided what I wanted was a Mark Hoppus replica bass. Massive Blink-182 fan, love Mark Hoppus, and I love the classic seafoam surf green bass that he used back in the day. I'd also decided that I wanted the jazz bass shape with a precision sounding pickup. I love precision sounding basses, but I don't like the shape of the precision bass. It gives me blisters on my wrist, probably because I'm not a very good bass player and my playing style isn't very good. So that's what I decided I wanted, and that's what I decided I was going to do. So this is a picture of Mark Hoppus's bass, the one that I was going to copy. As you can see, it's a jazz bass. Well, it's a jazz bass body. He uses precision bass neck. I'd already decided I wasn't going to do that. It's also got the precision pickup in it, which has been reversed. So on the bass strings, you've got a slightly more trebly sound closer to the bridge on the low strings, and a more bassy sound on the higher strings. So this is what I was going for. And now you can see a picture of the basses side by side. Picture of Mark Hoppus's bass, picture of my bass as it was when I started the project. And we're going to see just how close I can get this to turn out to Mark Hoppus's bass. I make some small changes along the way, just change my mind about a couple of things, but hopefully it will end up looking like the Mark Hoppus bass that you can see on the left there. So enjoy the video. So I've spared you the boredom of pictures of me peeling stickers off. That took quite a long time. I obviously didn't bother removing any of the sticker residue because I knew I was going to be stripping it back anyway. So as with all my refinishes, I started with 80 grit and worked my way up. 120, 240, 320, 400 and 600 grit. As I've said before, 600 grit isn't necessary to go quite that high, but I like to go that high. I like a really soft, smooth finish before I actually get round to spraying. So what you can see now is I did that all in a couple of hours. Started it at the one weekend at the end of March, and I had it done within a couple of hours. As you can see, I've gone back to the bare wood on the raised areas, all edges and stuff. You don't need to do that. You can just scuff and spray, but I wanted a really good finish, and I wanted it to almost be starting again completely. So this is it now. Sanded right back to 600 grit. It's a really smooth surface on there, and the next stage was grain filler. I didn't bother taking pictures of that because it just looks a mess. But what I did was I filled the grain and then sanded back the excess to 600 grit of grain. Pretty simple, really. So after I'd sanded and grain filled and sanded again, I needed to get rid of that bridge pickup cavity. So as I've used before, I used the fast glass fiberglass resin and filled it to just about a fraction of a millimetre over the surface of the bass, because it tends to shrink slightly as it sets. And this is a picture of it as I applied it. So it's not set here. Here we go. There's a picture of it while it's set. As you can see, there's a couple of smear marks just around the edge, but that's not a problem because I'm going to go back and sand. Although I've already sanded to 600 grit, I'm going to take it back to about 240 to get rid of, make sure I've got a really smooth surface, and then go right back up to 600 again. So the next step was sanding sealer. There's many ways of doing this, but I just used 3 coats of clear lacquer, sanded to 600 grit in between each one, and that was pretty much all I could do on the body at that point, because the next step was routing the new pickup cavity to fit the precision pickup, but I was waiting for the custom scratch plate to arrive, so I moved on to working on the neck. As I said at the beginning, I wasn't going to keep this neck because it was the precision style where it's really wide at the nut and I have small hands, much prefer the nice slimline jazz neck. So even though that was the case, I decided to clean it up anyway so I could sell it. And that's what I did. So you can see I sanded it all down, got rid of all the coloured pen, smoothed it all off, sanded it right back to, I don't think I went to 600, I went to about 400 grit, maybe only 320, I'm not sure. But yeah, and then I sold it on eBay and I got about 20 quid for it, maybe even 25, I think 25 quid, so I was really pleased with that. And I bought another neck which cost me £28, so that was a really good deal for me. So when I got the new neck, I got a nice Fender Precision decal on eBay and applied it. I won't go the ins and outs of how I applied that, you can find that on another video on my channel. But yeah, when I was unmasking it from applying that decal, the masking tape pulled out the inlays. Now this would have been a really easy fix, but it was a brand new neck. I was really frustrated, and I just got a refund. They didn't even ask for it back, so I cleaned it up and sold it. There's another couple of images of some of the problems I had while I was applying the decal on the lacquer. I didn't wait long enough for it to cure and ended up smudging it while I was sanding, so I sold it just for parts, and I think I got 20 quid for that neck anyway, and then I bought a third neck. This is what it looked like before I sold it. Bit of a mess, but again got 20 quid for it, selling it as a project neck, and the most important thing was I learnt from my mistake. So this is where some of the changes start to happen. Once I got the third neck, I'd sort of decided that I didn't want it to be an exact replica of the Hoppus base, because there's some stuff I didn't like about it. The Hoppus base had a Seymour Duncan quarter pounder pickup on it, and I wanted a Fender 62 reissue pickup. So in order to do that, I actually designed my own headstock decal, which you can see here. I put my signature on it, I made up a little serial number, and I got my Twitter handle, said at Jan Jones 89 Signature Series. Pretty cheesy, but I thought it looked pretty cool. I ordered that from Nick Dawson on eBay. His eBay store is Nick_Dawson_303, and he produces absolutely fantastic decals. I fully recommend going to him if you ever need any water slide decals. I was able to apply it, no problem at all. You get 2 decals for the price in case you screw it up, which I did first time round. Yeah, so I was really pleased with that. This is when it was just in the process of being wet sanded and buffed out, and this is when it's completely finished. So the neck was done by this point, and I was really pleased with the way it was looking. Couldn't wait to get it on the guitar. So we're getting back onto the body now, starting to finish. This is the first 3 coats on my solid base colour, which was surf green, just a rattle cam from Cambrush. Like I say, 3 coats, about 15 minutes in between each, and at this point I'm feeling pretty positive about it. I was able to spray, no drip marks, they're relatively even wet coats, and yeah, I was really pleased. So after the first 3 coats of colour, I then wet sanded. I always wet sand after each 3 coats, because I feel that you often end up with a smoother finish, and then ultimately less orange peel when you come to clear coating. So I did 600 and 1200 at this stage. So following that, I did another 3 coats of the surf green, and again wet sanded 600 and 1200, and then a final 3 coats, and repeated again. So it's 9 coats in total of the colour. So after 9 coats, that was when I noticed the first of my issues. As you can see from the picture, there's a very faint outline of the jazz pickup cavity that I filled in earlier on, and I really wasn't happy with that, because it was quite obvious when you looked at the guitar, and I really didn't want that. So all I did was sand as flat as I could with 1200 wet sand, and sprayed another 4 wet coats on top, and that actually did get rid of it. You can't see it at all now. So after that, I applied 6 coats in 2 sets of 3 coat periods of clear coat lacquer, just lacquer from Halford's, Auto Care lacquer, really great stuff. I use it all the time. And I brought it inside. To dry, and as you can see, I've lent it up against a piece of foam that I just had knocking around just to stop it from pressing on anything hard. This turned out to be a huge mistake. I woke up the following morning and the foam had imprinted a line across the whole of the back of the guitar, quite deep. I was absolutely distraught. But like I say, I sanded as flat as possible, and then sprayed another 4 cans of the surf green, so the colour on top of the already sprayed lacquer, and then did another 6 coats of lacquer. At that point I hung it up to cure for 4 weeks and didn't touch it, literally didn't touch it at all. I didn't want any more mistakes, and luckily it turned out alright. So we're a month on from that mistake now, and I'm in the final wet sanding process. I started at 600 grit wet sanding, moved to 1200, then 2000, then 3200, then 4000, 8000 and 12,000, all in micro mesh, to get the absolute smoothest finish I could. I don't normally go up that high, but I just wanted this to be absolutely perfect, and I was really pleased. After that, I used rubbing compound again from Halford's just to get out any final scratches from the 12,000, and then I used some turtle wax polish. You can see the polish is actually the exact same colour as the finish of the guitar, which made it quite interesting deciding when the polish was dry enough to buff off, but it turned out alright. Once I'd done that, I applied a coat of Renaissance wax, which is a microcrystalline wax, and it's absolutely brilliant. I love that stuff. Wired it up and put the pick guard on, and this is the body finished now. I've literally got everything on it. There's one screw, if you can see the input jack, the screw just above it to the left is actually missing because I had to put in a little block because the cavity was slightly too wide. There was nothing for me to screw into, so I had to glue a block in and had to wait for the glue to dry before I could screw the screw in. So finally, after all that time, the neck attached to the body, strung up and set up, and I was absolutely over the moon with the way it turned out. I think it ended up about as close to the picture I was following as it could have been. So yeah, really pleased about that. And yeah, I'll definitely be doing more of these videos, more of these conversions. I love making signature style guitars of all sorts. So stay tuned to the channel, like, share, subscribe, and if you've got any requests, if you've got any builds you want to see, any restorations you really want to see, then definitely let me know, because I'm up for trying anything really. Check out my other video where I turn up a beaten up old Fender Precision bass into a pretty nice custom personalised P bass. So thanks for watching.
This time I know the score. Get prepared to hear the truth. Get prepared to see me lose.